Hello and welcome to Coach TV Dublin. My name is Maria Johnson and I'm here in the famous Arlington Hotel, and I'm very happy to have a special guest here today, Peter from Dublin, right? Can you tell me your last name?
Walls, W-A-L-L-S.
Peter Walls is with me here today, and Peter, it was really exciting how we met yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was lovely. Funny enough, I don't usually notice people who are standing way in the right of me, but I noticed you and Dorje just when I was finishing up. I was singing up at the Spire, which is just around the corner from here at the top of Henry Street. It's on O'Connell Street, the Spire. It's Dublin's central landmark. And I sing there, I sing on the street there. I dress like this, I love it. I get a great response. And so it was lovely to meet you yesterday, especially when you started talking about following your passion, because this is what this is all about to me. You know, if everyone followed their passion, Maria, I think there'd probably be no wars. I can't be certain of that, but it sure feels that way.
And again, you nailed it down with one sentence. That's what I observed yesterday too. I guess you're right. Probably when we all would follow our passions, there would be no war.
Well, yeah, that's essentially it. Yeah, that's it. And it's not easy to follow your passion. In fact, mostly when I say to people, follow your passion, you know, they say, well, I would if I knew what it was. And I think, I suppose, the fear, the natural fears, they're very natural fears. I mean, we live in a world where you've got to get paid and you've got to pay your rent, etc., etc. And I'm not arguing with that. You know, money and society need a good balance. But if you're caught up in having to work all day, if you're chasing your tail, if you like, all the time, then there's no time to even know what your passion is. I mean, in my own case, I think it was about 30 years I was buried. I had a shock when I was young, and I didn't know I was buried. And so it took me over 30 years to follow my passion.
So tell me, so when we met yesterday, one thing I noticed immediately is that you really had a lot of fun being on stage and singing, and that you were really connecting with the audience, and I see those are two very important things. I really enjoy what you're doing.
Well, I mean, I absolutely love it, but if you'd asked me some years ago, should I do this, I would have had no idea. I mean, I used to be an accountant, but I'm okay now. That's my line, and it actually is true. There's nothing wrong with accountants, but for me it was the wrong thing. Instead of following my passion, I followed my shadow passion. They say you'll always do something like that. If you don't follow your passion, you'll do something that you think is safe. And for me, accountancy was safe because it balances. So I made a break a few years ago, and now I'm singing. But what I followed in the first place was not this singing. It wasn't entertainment. I mean, when I stand on stage, somebody presses a button, and I'm alive, and I'm entertaining naturally. I love it. But that's not what I started to do first. In fact, can I tell you a little story about
Please, we're all about storytelling. So after 30 years, you quit the accounting?
Yeah, I quit the accounting, and I'd love to tell you a story. And one of the things that came out of that, I had a midlife crisis, wonderful midlife crisis, and crisis means turning point. So it's wonderful now, it wasn't always wonderful. And people ask me, are you happier since you made the changes in your life? And I say, well, I can't say I'm happier. I'm generally happier, but I'm certainly more alive. Without any doubt, I'm more alive. So, I mean, I have my bad days and my good days, as I always do, as one always does. But
I'm curious, when you say alive,
I'm more in touch with who I am. I'm more accepting of all the parts that I am. And I mean, I remember when I was a young fellow, people were playing, you're very two-faced. That was a common saying. But actually, we're multi-faced. Everybody has so many characters within them. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all express them instead of trying to be the person our peers want us to be, or we think our peers want us to be? So that's what following your passion is like. Everybody loves something. And in my case, the reason I did it was because I was feeling quite dead. I was married to a very beautiful woman. I had two beautiful children. She was their mother, and we lived in a house on the hill. And everything was going very well. The business was a little bit tough at the time, and I found myself in a kind of strange place where I was happy, but I wasn't alive. Now I can't explain that, but I was stuck. And my wife at the time gave me a book written by Deepak Chopra, and this book was called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. Fabulous book, a fabulous man, Deepak Chopra. And little did my wife know that this book was going to bring me to a point where I was going to leave. Now, I'm not proud that I left my marriage, but that's what I had to do. when I followed my passion.
So that shows me you're a really brave man.
Well, brave or stupid, I don't know, there's a thin line between them, but you see...
But it shows courage, you know, I mean, in order to get alive, you gotta...
Well, it does,
follow.
it does. But one of the things that happened one of the things, a poetry book came out of me during the last 7 years since I made this break, and one of the lines in one of the poems is, may you have the courage to have no courage at all, and that's the way I see it. If you can really let go and be yourself, whatever that is, at any point in time, then you have courage, and you've got to have courage to have no courage, because it can take you anywhere. But
I rarely meet people like you. First of all, you talk like a coach, what we call in the modern world coach, and you talk all about those things: courage, passion, turning point, fear.
Yeah. Well. I mean, I haven't done any. Well, I did for some years go to a place called the School of Philosophy and Economic Science, and it's a practical philosophy school. But I found, like any other organisation, it tends to get too full of rules, and you get caught up in the rules rather than the fundamentals of the philosophy. And that's a little bit when I say let go, have the courage to have no courage at all. You know, accept your non-acceptance.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you've got to go beyond the rules. You've got to go beyond the scriptures. You've got to go back to yourself. And if you ask me what is that, I say, well, I really don't know what it is.
And that's where it all starts.
That's where it all starts. It is where it all starts.
When we don't know, we can get curious like kids again.
Yeah. And it's extremely difficult because you don't know. In my case, I eventually followed my passion, and my passion was, I mean, you look at me, I look like I'm a gentleman, but my passion was cross-dressing. My passion was wearing dresses. I had got so lost inside myself that the only thing that I had that connected me with reality in any way was wearing frilly things. In fact, I've written a poem about that. Can I read this poem? Could I? I'm saying it to you. I have it in
to our listeners. Yes.
One of the things that happened was that between the death of my mother and the untimely death of my brother, this poetry came flying out of me, and it's an ode to a beach where my mother lived, Cumino at the beach. And a verse got written for every member of my family. I didn't do this; it just happened, and the verse ended up beside the picture. And one of them is a poem called "Frilly Things." And it tells you a lot about me, it tells you a lot about why I love it, because it shuts my mind up and opens my heart up. And so I stop thinking. You might think that looking at me, you might think listening to me that I shut up every now and then, but I do.
I enjoy listening to you.
Well, this is a poem called Frilly Things. And when I say frilly things, I mean, for you, your frilly things are whatever you want to do. Whatever you would love to do right now. And never mind if it changes by lunchtime. This is what you want to do right now. So it goes like this. I love to dress in frilly things. I have no idea why. I try to fight, but soon give up for fear. My heart will die. Sometimes I wake and all alone I crave that soft, soft feel. Dressing like the girl I miss, afraid to make her real. Other times I crave reform. I only dress like men. Then casting frills to burning flames, I spend a fortune buying again. In truth, I have no choice, you know, not now at any rate. Who knows what dice the gods will throw? Who knows our passion's fate? So let thinking knave stray where he will in search of truths to understand. Because no matter what my thoughts distill, my heart needs not to comprehend. So as I learn this sacred dance and all my parts draw near, I learn to love you as you are, and I learn to live embracing fear. I love to dress in frilly things. I have no idea why. But death's embrace gives me wings to let my passion fly. So.
Wow. Wow.
I was looking at
one thing I notice immediately is when you tell us your poetry, your voice tone changes completely. It gets much softer. You have a different voice tone. You speak more slowly.
Well, that's really interesting. Well, that particular one, yeah, it did slow me down, didn't it? It was bringing me closer to me, wasn't it?
I can sense you speak from your heart, and of course I enjoy your other side too. I got to meet.
No, I do understand that. Yeah, I'm starting to speed up again there, and I do tend to. There's a tendency I have to fix things, and so if you like, that's my cross to bear. If you like, but it's quite normal. You know, you look at your life. And say you look at your room, for example, and it's untidy, and you decide, this happens very subconsciously, subtly, that, oh, well, I'll tidy it up, and then I'll feel happy. So we tend to say to ourselves, I will feel happy on condition that such and such happens, or I'm happy because I'm on holidays in Dublin, or... And that's my tendency, and most of the time that's what I'm doing. When I sing, and when I dress in frilly things, all of that shuts down. And I can't explain it to you. I can't tell you that means, therefore I am this or I am that. It's just a certain tendency that you keep pulling towards it. And this is why we love song. It's why we love singing. It's why we love entertaining. As human beings, it's one of the most magnificent things we can do. It doesn't have to be song. It's whatever your passion is. Whatever your passion is.
And all is good, you know. Speaking slowly, speaking quicker, all is good. It all has its place.
Yeah, that's a major.
It's just, you know, to bring awareness into it and to notice things just for yourself. And I think, like in nature, we have day and night. The sun comes out, the moon. So
everything has a place.
Everything has a place. You know?
Yeah,
it's more about to notice things.
It's remembering that. I mean, it's the remembering, it's the awareness. You mentioned that I often decide I'm going to change my life. So I decide, let's decide I'm used to going to New York, and I decide I'm going to go to California today. And a couple of hours later, I wake up on Manhattan Bridge. Is there a bridge called Manhattan? Anyway, the point is, I said, didn't I say I was going to California?
I think there is.
So we forget or we forego, you know, and that's just years of habit. And the only way I know how to deal with it is to do things like dress in pretty things, because it shuts me up. It's a form of meditation. And singing is fantastic. But sometimes that makes me too high, and I go the other side. Now I get to, you know, it takes so much energy to hold your happiness as it does to hold your sadness. So you can swing from one side to the other. And you just have to keep coming back to yourself. And whatever your thing is, and only you know what it is. And that could be the hard part. Because
and I see through noticing, going through those different states, because I really like what you said about, you know, there is sadness, there is happiness, and it's like a stream going through us. And anyhow, if you look at simple physics, everything is vibration and we are connected. So we pick up a lot of things. I'm sad, interesting. I notice there is sadness. I'm happy, I notice there is happiness.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And I mean, once you start speaking about it philosophically, you can say, I am, and I am that I am. The difficulty with that is you're still in your head. And so it has to sink into your heart in some way. And even now I'm putting words on something you can't put words on.
Exactly.
But I think if I'm listening to you speak, you know what I'm talking about. You have a sense of it. And I know that's what we saw yesterday. Sorry, now I'm talking again too much.
And when you say, because that's brilliant what you just said, we speak a lot from our heads, so it's a lot of concepts, and then you say we go down to our heart. And what does your heart tells you?
What does my heart tell me? Well, my heart will only tell me that I feel right. Right is the wrong word. I feel alive. Alive is the right word. So I might be, for example, standing in I might be going to bed in a nightie, and I might have a pair of high heels on, but I'm thinking, like, this looks absolutely ridiculous. And then I stop there, and I was thinking, that's just conditioned thinking. And then I stop, and I just let all that go. And sometimes it does look ridiculous because it's the wrong size or something like that, but it's not because I'm a 6'2" man. My heart tells me what path to follow, but it only tells me, like, it's like I heard a story one time of a man walking in the fog, and the fog was so thick he couldn't see his hand in front of him, but there was a light post, and he could walk to that, and when he got that, he could see the next one, and it works that way. So I can't tell you what I'm going to be tomorrow. I can only tell you that right now, I'm sitting here talking to you about my passion. This is fabulous. This is gorgeous. You know, I love this.
And it's like when you're sitting in your car, that you only have 10 meters maybe in front of you when you put on the lights, but you're not going to stop driving. You're going to continue because you want to go home.
That's a very good analogy. Yeah, that's exactly it. And
So in coaching, I always look, or in people, I would say, because coaching is very generalized, I always look into things you know, what makes you alive, what are your puzzle pieces, because if I look at life, it's a big puzzle. And I notice a lot of talents you have. First of all, you're a very good entertainer. What does it mean? You're doing brilliant storytelling. I saw you sing on stage, entertaining, connecting with the audience, poetry.
Yeah, and really I'm listening to say the same. I'm thinking, what are you saying? And I'm thinking, what you're saying. You're describing me as you see me now. But all of this, I've come alive.
Those are all just little pieces?
But all because I followed what I thought my passion was. And I think that's the point. If you ask me, do you want to get a point across? It's that, because most people don't know what that passion is. So you've got to follow what you think it is. And that can be very scary. But what has happened is that I've come alive, and it's almost like I'm not in control anymore, and I actually like that. Which is, it sounds ridiculous, but being in control was very, very tiring, and didn't work, by the way. You know, so what you're seeing now, I mean, it's lovely that you can meet me and see this character. It's gorgeous, because I've
seen it. So for our listeners, you would say, stop controlling. Because I agree,
in order to control, you've got to let go control. It's the old, you know, in order to accept, you've got to let go acceptance. It's all that paradox, and I think mine is lined by the edge of paradox. I have a poem called Paradox, which talks about that, and it's let go control. I mean, and religiously you would say put your faith in God, but spiritual people would say, you know, let go and feel the power of love. But whatever way you want to put it.
So with other words, you know, whatever it is your heart sings for, dance for, that's what you follow, that's what you go. Because in life there is no right or wrong, you know, there are things which are light, things which are heavy. You know, on a scale from 1 to 10, how light is your heart? How much do you want to follow that?
Well, yeah, and I feared that I would lose everything. And I did. And I found myself. So, was that worth it? Yes.
If you would have one more thing to tell your our listeners, what would it be?
Yes, it would be one more thing. Can't think of one more thing. Just follow your heart, follow your passion, whatever you think it might be, because it will lead you very simple to yourself.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's such a big pleasure.
My pleasure.
To meet you, and that you were so spontaneous to just sit here in this beautiful hotel and have a short talk to me. And thank you all for listening, and we wish you all the best, and that you also will follow your heart. It doesn't hurt, by the way. Thank you.